Hi, DragonCon. Caro from the BritTrack here. I'm the director. And with me to talk about all things Killing Eve are these wonderful, lovely people. With us today, we have Corrine O'Flynn. Thank you so much for joining us. Corrine O'Flynn is a US Today bestselling author of fantasy and mystery. You can find her online at CorrineO'Flynn.com. Hi, Corrine. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We also have Janne McKamey with us. Janne is the director of the DragonCon store and a fan panelist. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I miss you guys.
Yeah, right. We also have with us the wonderful and amazing Tony Gowel, who works for DragonCon and is just a delightful person. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I love this show so much. I'm very excited about our conversation today.
Oh, yeah. So we've had 3 series of Killing Eve, and it is an amazingly fabulous show. It is a women cast and women-led, and it is just got so much amazing stuff going on with it. So I want to start off with the show's premise. So Tony, can you tell us what is the show's premise? Like, what's the point, the background of the show?
Sure. Sandra Oh plays a character that works for MI5. And so this being a British-led television series, their intelligence agency is under the moniker MI. So she works for MI5 as an investigative agent of some kind. I don't know if we ever knew her exact title. Did we know what she did for MI5 other than just kind of like those analytics behind the scenes of like crime scenes?
Yeah.
And so
I think you're right.
she becomes fascinated with this very strange and hinky murder. And she's one of those people, like in the horror movies, where there's the one person that knows that something terrible is wrong and is trying to tell everyone and no one's listening. And she kept saying there's something not right with the way that this murder is being covered up. So she unwittingly kind of unveils that there are some undercurrents within MI5 itself where there are loyalties that are not exactly on the up and up. And as a result of her making waves to her accusations that things aren't right, she gets fired. But then she gets picked up by a shadowy organization under MI6. And that's where our adventure really begins. So that's kind of like the premise to get you kind of sucked into the show.
Okay. And Janne, what as a fan was your initial appeal to the show for you?
I think the main thing is that Eve didn't give up. She kept talking to her male supervisors. She kept talking to everyone around her in her department. And finally, in the middle of a meeting, she blurts it out. And it's the one female that's in there that finally listens to her. And that almost mirrors, what some women actually experience in the boardrooms. So that kind of really intrigued me, the fact that, just by being persistent, then she was picked up and her life completely changed after that.
Okay, Corrine, what about you? What was your initial appeal to the show?
I love a female assassin. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, I like dark, twisted stuff, and the character of Villanelle is so intriguing to me. But I really enjoyed how tenacious Eve is. I was going to call her Sandra for a second, but she's such a bulldog on everything because she knows that she's right, and the way that kind of teases out through the entire series has stayed true to form. It continues to be intriguing because she knows that she's right, but she's maybe not right, So
that's a great point. Tony, what about you?
I really have always been drawn to what Corrine was mentioning about the idea of a female assassin. It's very rare that we see in any form of media that the villain or the antagonist is a strong female and not just the stereotypical damsel in distress gone bad because of circumstances, or brainwashed to be this assassin but really has a heart of gold, or whatever those tropes are. They're often used over and over again.
I did it for love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I believe a lot of that is stemmed from way back in 1939. There was the original version of the movie The Women, And one of the plot devices that they used was that there's never a male character seen on screen through the duration of the entire film. All conversations with men are done over the phone or off screen. And something like that has always stuck with me because I'm a huge fan of classic film. And for something to be that pioneering in its time in the late 30s, and for us to have to go decade after decade, and we all have to kind of challenge ourselves, like, when do we see protagonists as females or antagonists as females working at odds, but also together and driving the story? And our strongest supporting characters are females on the show as well. And it's produced by females. And I just think that that is a wonderful telling of our time, that it's time for women to be represented. And it's kind of nice to see them doing it. And they're doing a heck of a job of it. Look at all of the award recognition that show has received over the years.
And they're not hitting us over the heads with the fact of it either.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
just it's great storytelling. You know, I got into the show because of Phoebe, right? Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who Fleabag, and I just absolutely adore her writing and just the way that her brain is amazing, and the ideas that she can come up with and the dynamics of it all. And I actually was watching an interview with her when she was doing a women's roundtable, and she was talking about why she wasn't in the show, because I always thought, okay, well, would she fit into this kind of show? And she said that she never felt like she could ever develop a character that would fit into this world, and that it was easier for her to kind of sit away from it and write these other characters and build this amazing arc over the series. So for me, that's why I got into the show, was just kind of the writing and the way that it's so deep, and it's so structured, and yet it's not structured, and it's unexpected. And I think that at the end of every episode, you get this like, whoa, moment at the end of every episode that's so surprising, right?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about some of the relationships that have built within the show? Because we is married, right? She has her husband, Nico, and now she's going off and trying to hunt down Villanelle and find out all of her secrets. And she almost seemingly becomes obsessed with her, right, in the first series. So what do you guys think about all these different relationships and the way that they're displayed in the context of this show? Let's start with Corrine. What do you think?
Oh God, I think the hallmark of excellent television or excellent storytelling is that you can take the relationships and put them anywhere and tell the story. Like, you could put this on a spaceship and it would be as compelling. Like, it's that well done. The relationships are like so nuanced and so rich with the way that Eve is obsessed with Villanelle, at first from an investigative point of view, and then in a more, I don't even, like, psychological, like, inappropriate way. Like, she goes to this deep dive, and and that's just one relationship. And then we see her relationship with her husband starts out one way, and eventually it begins to it slides, and it continues to slide, and we don't know what's happening, but we don't question it because it's just so believable.
Yeah.
I love the way that they're developing all of these relationships, but I think even Carolyn's relationship and Constantine, I can't remember if we meet, now that we're talking just season 1, I don't remember when we meet everybody. But
we meet Constantine in season 1.
Yeah. I can't remember. When you binge it, it's like it's all one big show, right? No, the relationships with everyone, every single relationship, no matter how secondary it seems, is as full to me as the main relationship between Eve and everybody else.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Tony, what do you think?
I really want to give props to the fact that the creators and producers of the show wanted to cast women of a certain age that in Hollywood standards is more over the hill. You will hear women in Hollywood complain a lot that once you reach 40, you have like these matronly roles that are left. You no longer play the sexy young woman, which, you know, depending on the cycles of film and television and media, are the hot commodity. So you either have to play like a strong character that is crazy and weird and wild and out there, or has extreme prosthetics and has these horrible things happen to them, or they play the old grandmother type.
Right.
And so you have someone like Fiona Shaw, who I believe is in her 60s, playing this amazing character who's just a total, I want to say that she commands control of the room and people fear her. And she doesn't do anything that's threatening at all. She never really raises her voice. I mean, she comes across as kind of cold and distant, but people, when they see her in the halls, they just kind of like give her leeway and defer to her. So it makes you wonder what type of rich history has that character gone through, where she has earned the respect of her peers and her betters, because people that are her superior defer to her. And so that's a testament of a woman in her 60s that can play such a strong character that everyone reveres. May not be the most likable character on the show for sure, because she's definitely made some questionable choices along the way, like with her relationship with Constantine.
Right.
But then you see Sandra Oh, who is in her 50s, and she's playing this vibrant, beautiful, hard-driven investigator that's in this happy marriage. And then the youthful Villanelle comes on the scene, who really sees her, like taking her bag and putting clothes that are tailored to fit her, that are more fashionable, so that she sees that there's like a beauty to her that maybe Nico doesn't see in his wife because of the comfortability that they have. So all of these different relationships are richly layered, and they're very believable. And I think that's what is caused such a strong response from audiences.
Oh yeah, Janne.
Yeah, to build on what Tony said, it almost seems to me like Nico and Eve's relationship was strained from the beginning. There was obviously something going on behind the scenes that we didn't see, because even when she wasn't 300% into work, he had a problem with her working.
Right.
Yes. And I always wondered if it was like the strong woman and he's
exactly,
you know.
But that's the beauty of a show like this, is that it's never really spelled out. Is he kind of resentful of her being a strong woman in the workplace? Like maybe he was the one that wanted to carry the family and be the working man and have her sit at home. But we never know that.
I think that's actually one of the strengths of the show from the start to the finish. Like we never really know much of anything. Like a lot of it is left to our imagination and for debate. Like almost everything is. Like
I love that.
The lie behind almost everything is.
Yeah.
Well, it's like even like I think that's really interesting about their dynamic, specifically about like cooking, right?
Oh yeah.
The first series, you see Nico like cooking dinner, like almost being like, for lack of a better phrase, the house husband.
House husband, exactly.
And you see that happening, and he's okay with that role. But when she starts to venture out and have the level of almost attraction / obsession with another person, and spending all of her invested time and even emotional investment in it, he gets really jealous, right?
Yeah.
Then we see other characters like come in, and then you see Eve come in, and when she cooks for the first time on camera, like his reaction when she's in the kitchen cooking is very unexpected. And he's very, like, okay, well, what are you doing? Like, you're taking my job. Like you're doing what I want to do.
Right.
So it's almost like the cutting of the line, or the drawing line in the sand of whose role is what, and it blurs so much of who is the one in charge.
Right.
Well, and in that scene, I felt like it was him doing the cooking and him doing the house husband role. Felt not that he wanted to, but that was a place that he could be strong in their relationship, and
be in control.
Exactly.
Because he is not the stronger person. Like she has the manly job. She has the more power in the world. And so when she comes in to take and he sees her cooking, it's like, oh, she's got to take this too. Like she's
emasculating him. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like later on, and you know, we can bounce around all the other series, but you know, in spoilers, but like in series 3, right? You see this cooking motif show up between Caroline and her daughter, right? And you know, she's trying to make some pie and cope because that's how she wants to cope in that moment. And we see a lot of growth in Carolyn, right? We see her change significantly in series 3, and she's cooking, and then her daughter comes in with a bag. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm this veggie stew tonight, and they kind of go at it, right?
Right.
It's kind of interesting that, to me, when I look at the show, they have all these different motifs that stand out, these themes that run through. But what are some that are like your favorite that have stood out for you the most, as far as like a theme or an underlying kind of message that's being delivered from the show? Anybody want to start?
You know, something that I don't know that it's I guess it's a theme because it's happening.
Right.
The men who are working with Carolyn are almost 100% disposable.
Exactly.
And you know that I don't want to be like, yeah, power to the women, you know, but it does feel a little bit like that when you step back and look at it all. Wow, every one of the powerful men ended up not staying in power.
Yeah, exactly.
Power was taken from them, you know, in very, very striking ways. So I thought that was an interesting theme. But back to the food thing, when Villanelle is with Nico and she threatens his life, she says that she wants the shepherd's pie recipe from when she first met up with Eve in the kitchen. You know, that was hysterical.
And when she meets Eve for the first time, isn't she eating spaghetti like in the first scene that they first like,
I think she's eating Nico's shepherd's pie.
Yeah, it's the shepherd's pie.
And then she gives it to Villanelle. But you know, I think that another thing is that we see these people who live and they're assassins, and they're tracking down assassins, and they're with MI6, and they're like these amazing, powerful people, and they still cut, you know, veggies in their kitchen like everybody else. Like, I think that the flip between the super crazy, like they can appear anywhere at a moment's notice, and then the mundane it's always very striking to me when it happens in this.
Yeah, their mundane is very messy.
Yeah.
Like, it's very sloppy, and they're not happy. It's
they're not
almost
used
if
to
their
it.
careers and their goals that they have professionally are what drive them towards happiness.
Exactly.
Right.
Right, because at the end of season 2, right, we see the big moment in which Villanelle shoots Eve.
Right.
Series 3 opens up, and the first time that we see Eve, she's grocery shopping.
Right. And it's like, how much time has elapsed? And look, where are we? Yeah.
Right.
And cooking in a Korean restaurant.
Right? And
Making dumplings.
Making dumplings.
her grocery shopping, and she she's so defeated in the way grocery shopping, and it's quiet, and it is this amazing.
The music is awful. It's like, you know,
right? And I'm like, girl, like I've been there. Like, I have been there. You know, people, we can relate to these characters in these moments. And it's just so interesting that there's this food, you know, motif like going on throughout the show.
But didn't it seem to you guys that Carolyn seemed like she was more comfortable being at home when Kenny was there? Like that was her spot. That was her safe spot, was with him at home. And you can see as the series progressed after what happened to him that just wasn't the case anymore, how much more uncomfortable she was at home without him being there.
Oh, that's true. I didn't notice that.
Well,
that is true.
She says when they have it out after they're in the middle of cooking, and Carolyn and was it Geraldine?
Yeah.
Geraldine.
Her daughter, they talk about it, and she says, she's all right. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. You have a relationship with your father.
Exactly.
Me and Kenny.
We
understood each other, and now we're here and we're trying to understand each other, and it's it's just not, we're not clicking. And I know you're not supposed to say that to your child, but here you go.
I know, it was devastating. It's Geraldine is so hungry for like a real relationship with her mother, and it's just so out of reach. And she does, the actress, I can't remember her name, does an amazing job. Like this is another one of those shows where every single character has been cast perfectly. Like you don't ever pop out of the show like, you know, well, maybe a couple of times, but
I mean, and the mother-daughter dynamic, I think, is a theme that's pretty interesting also about the show. You also have Dasha, right? You have Dasha and you have Villanelle. And then you have Helene. I can't remember what her name is. She works for the 12.
Yeah.
And the moment in series 3 when she's like hugging Villanelle, and Villanelle starts to cry, and Villanelle with her own mother, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, it's super interesting to see that shift occur from series 1 all the way through.
Yeah. I think the sad part about the relationship with Geraldine is that when she's always yelling at her mother to cope, she doesn't realize that she's doing her best to cope. Like when she was in there trying to make dinner, instead of her realizing, hey, maybe this is a coping mechanism. She used to do this with Kenny. She comes in and she's upset because she was the one that wanted to make dinner for her mother, instead of realizing, hey, maybe mom's making dinner for me because she's trying to do that breakthrough or cope with me being here.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, they do that really well, the grief piece. I think that because when people are grieving, like, you know, you could lose the same person and the two people that are grieving are not grieving in the same way. And
totally
I think
different.
Like that was authentic to me in a lot of different ways. But yeah, but again, it harkens back to Eve cooking in her kitchen and taking that power from Nico. Like this is the one thing that Geraldine saw as an entree into a relationship with a better relationship with her mother, and her mother won't let her have it. You know, it's just so well done.
Absolutely.
And then Villanelle, right? Her dynamic with everyone on the show is very different.
Oh yeah.
Her with Constantine, let's talk about that relationship for a moment. You know, she's employed as an assassin for the 12, which we don't know that much about. We have a lot of power. We know that they are an international organization. Part of me has this whole Spectre theory from James Bond that it's kind of got this huge influence. And then we have Constantine, who in the very beginning, he's her keeper, right? He's of keeping her and taking care of her. And their dynamic is very, very interesting. What do you think about the growth or shift, let's start with Tony, in their dynamic?
When we first meet Constantine, we get that very powerful introduction. And maybe I'll allude to this later, but it's very interesting if you study the scenes in this show. Whenever Eve or Villanelle are feeling down or sad, it's almost like the show is shot in stark colors of grays and blues and cold and wintry. But when they feel alive and in their element, you see the fashion is sharpened. The colors are more contrasting, and they're more poppy and bright and sunny days. So that's just something that I've noticed. So when we first meet him, she's trying to go for the shock factor of her pretending to be dead, which took me back to that old Harold and Maude film.
Oh yeah.
Where he was always trying to freak her out by pretending like he was staging death scenes or whatever. So I was like, this girl is psychotic, absolutely lost her mind. And so you see him and you can't really get a read on how much control he has over her, what his role really is, because you can see his level of frustration. So it alludes to that she's always been kind of testing him and annoying him and doing these little prankish things, or causing him to work harder than he thinks that he should in order to mind someone that, you know, his job is really to just kind of make sure that she gets paid and she has her new assassin jobs. And like, I think if we were to ever see other people that he kept, that maybe they didn't give him as much grief. So that's when we first meet him, you can kind of see that he's almost like this tired father figure almost.
Exactly.
But then as the show progresses, you see that she starts garnering more power over him. Like, I think when we first meet him, she has a healthy fear of him for whatever reason. Like maybe he could kind of put her in her place.
Yeah.
And he seems to, or at least it's almost given to the audience that if anybody can check her, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then we find out that that is not the case
Yeah,
as the
it's an
show
illusion.
unspools. So that's an incredible arc for those characters, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Janne, thoughts?
I think that throughout the series, she actually, because you guys have seen it all the way through to the end, that she actually begins to develop real feelings for him. It's
Yeah.
not just handler and assassin anymore. And it's almost painful to watch their relationship build up to that type of emotion and then fall apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corrine?
So I feel like they probably have always had this dynamic, but I think that because of what's happening with her and Eve and the way that he has to keep intervening and the way that she keeps stepping out of line, it's giving them more opportunities for her to play on that with him. So we're seeing more of it.
Mhm.
Like, I think that, they all think they know what they want, but once they get a peek at it, they push it. And I think that she wants this father figure, this guy who's going to like be there for her and be this constant thing. But and he can't do that for her. But he can't deny that he has feelings for her. But every single time it looks like we're going to have something that looks normal,
Right.
one of them will sabotage it.
Yes.
So it's just really cool.
It's super neat, and it's almost like we get to see when in the second series when we meet his daughter, when we meet
Yes, Irina,
who's an amazing character and an amazing actress. She's so impressive, and we get to see this new dynamic where it's like, is it that you kind of question yourself as a viewer? Is it the issue or problem in the breakdown of control only isolated with Villanelle and Constance?
Right.
But then you get to see what's going on with him and his daughter, right?
Right.
Where
she's a lot like Villanelle in personality.
Oh, yeah.
With the pushing.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
He definitely knows how to push his buttons.
and she's so smart, right? She's super smart. She can speak Icelandic, right? She yells at him in Icelandic at one point in series 3, and we see that this control, that he almost is like letting them be, allowing them in his own mind, that he is giving them permission to be who they are, but also trying to corral them from making mistakes and kind of clean up after them as they go.
Yeah.
And that he's doing that with Villanelle, and then he does that with his.
Well, there's also a sense from, and it's more obvious, I think, from Irina's point of view, but both Villanelle and Irina, I think, see Constantine as all powerful. And I think that when Irina does what she does and gets herself into a real pickle, he almost can't help her. Like,
Right.
he's trying to figure it out, but he's not sure
Exactly.
he can. And I think that changes the way that she sees her father. And I think that's what for me, that's the thing that kind of flipped the switch and made her kind of go the other way. I don't want to spoil everything, but I think that we see a shift in her motivation. And I think that, that for me was when he couldn't solve her problem. Like when there was a doubt that he was who he is supposed to be for me, she kind of was like, okay.
I think it made him see himself in a new light, because he's always been able to pay people off and get Villanelle out of trouble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when he couldn't do it for his own daughter, I think that was a wake-up call to him.
Right.
Yeah, for him too.
And his health.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Right? Because he like has a heart attack.
Right.
God, the build up to that was like white knuckle watching for that.
Yes.
Like, holy cow.
This
Because
guy's
you knew
gonna
it was
have
coming, but you knew that
What's
whenever it was
going
going to happen, it was going to be in the most inopportune moment possible, for sure.
Yep.
it's just to see that it grow and in the direction it goes in. One of the things that I really wanted to also chat with you guys about is the settings and location,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
right? And
Be
the
on that show.
They're beautiful.
right? And the shift between it, whoever the editor is of the show, whoever did the editing with the title, like text slides where it goes different places, and then there's this quirky little like comments here and there.
Mhm.
I think it was just brilliant and really helped transition because we go from England to Paris to Rome to Barcelona
To Russia.
Right, Prague,
Poland, yeah.
Poland, Bosnia, right? At one point, and they're all over.
Mhm.
And, then to see Villanelle blend in to these environments, to change her accent, to speak these languages.
Holy cow, can Jodie Comer bring it? Like,
Exactly.
holy cow, every time.
Right. So what was your favorite location as far as events, as well as just it was just really neat the way that it was kind of brought forward as far as all those are concerned?
Oh, my favorite location was Mother Russia when she went to dinner. It was just because it was such a departure, and here she is, this statuesque couture woman in this podunk,
podunk, exactly,
Russian nothing, and just going with it. And I think that
where they were throwing what was it, cow frisbees.
But yeah, all of it. It was just breathtakingly done. All of it.
My favorite scene when she's in Russia is when her family starts dancing to Elton John.
Oh,
yeah. Was it Crocodile Rock?
Crocodile Rock.
Yeah. That was so good.
So good.
And you can see everybody's family doing something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all have a song that we do that with our family.
Well, in that moment, it's talking about how dissonant it is. Villanelle thinks that she knows what she wants. They all have, I want a normal life, a family. And then she gets to be there with these people, and it's so bizarre. You can't ever imagine her being in, fitting into this place.
And being happy and content.
Yeah. Who are you if you are?
And I think the most ironic scene in which I think she kind of starts to realize that she doesn't fit in, but then she kind of forces herself, is when she's sitting there with, I guess, her stepbrother and the girlfriend, and he starts talking about the flat earth theory.
Mm-hmm.
He is listening intently to him and then bursts out laughing. And she has various little moments like that where she kind of what is going on?
What is happening here? Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I also love her apartment. Is her apartment in Paris?
The first apartment.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, the one. The one because she goes back to it with the one where she's in bed with Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and she has to take out her neighbor.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That building, that's a
good.
That
building is beautiful. I love what was it, Amsterdam? She's wearing this gorgeous floral dress.
Oh yeah.
For a cafe scene over one of the bridges, and I think it was when she was hired to take out that guy. And she kind of embarrasses him in front of his wife in one of those red room things.
The red room. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was in Amsterdam. I just thought that was a beautiful scene as far as just the styling. Whoever does her wardrobe and costuming, can make her look so amazing no matter what setting she's in. They know how to dress her appropriately so that she blends better, but at the same time highlights the beauty of her as a person. And for them to have hired an actress that can give you that dead shark eye look during any of those assassin scenes, but then can turn on the charm like a switch, she's almost like a mannequin come to life.
Yeah,
she's an incredible actor because that is a gift that a lot of people cannot pull off.
They couldn't pull it off. No,
so much in mind of watching Orphan Black. So much. Watching Orphan Black.
That's a great actress as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Even the less picturesque scenes are done so beautifully. When we see Nico on that farm in Poland.
Oh yeah,
it's so it's the perfect farm life. If I wanted to live on a farm in Poland,
that's where I would want to go. Right.
Everything was so perfect. Even in the shabbiness of the Russian house, everything felt. I don't know. It was just shot really well. The colors were always right on. Everything.
Right.
Yeah, well, I was reading one of the blogs and I watched some of the director's notes, and it was saying that village that they used for Poland, it was just one long straight village, and everything was pretty much as is.
Oh, wow.
All the
Really?
people were there. All the horse-drawn buggies were there.
So they didn't
And
stage
basically,
it, really. It was all
so they
there.
didn't even have to stage it that
Huh.
much. Just kind of
Wow.
bring their characters into the neighborhood that was already there.
The location
Was it in
sounds
Poland?
No, it was not in Poland. I forget where it was, but it was so close to appearing to be a Polish village that they used it.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely
That's
in the
so
director's
cool.
notes.
That's cool.
Super interesting. One of my favorite places that they went to was actually in Scotland when Dasha and Villanelle go on, this I'm going to make myself up to the 12, because by series 3, Villanelle has
Right.
questioning what she's doing. She doesn't really want to do it anymore. She kind of wants out. And they go, Dasha being this person that has trained Villanelle to do what she does, right?
Right.
And Dasha considers Villanelle her greatest achievement.
Mhm.
And they go together on this mission to assassinate this guy. And when they show up on this golf course in Scotland,
Yeah.
Hilarious.
In her fabulous, gigantic green pants.
I know.
Yes.
Those pants were awesome.
oh man, and just the tartan in general
Everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
is so incredible. And anytime she's in a suit, there's something that is so powerful about the suit that
Mhm.
she's wearing. I mean, even when she meets Helene and she's got these like
The
points,
blue one with the shoulder pads.
right? They're just like,
That Crystal Carrington moment.
Mhm. Exactly.
right?
Yes.
And it's just amazing. And to see her, what's interesting is that in series 1, just to go into her wardrobe, because we have mentioned it here and there, in season 1, we see her in things that are like poofy, right?
Mhm.
This big poofy pink,
Very
I love
feminine.
Yeah.
right? And she's very feminine here and there. And then she slowly starts, we see her in more suits. We see her,
Mhm.
even in getting married, right? At one point.
Mhm.
In a tuxedo. And so we see her outfits change over time. Do you think that was intentional, or what do you guys think about that?
I think everything about the show is intentional. And if it's not, like, they are subconsciously managing that.
I absolutely agree. I think that it takes a special physique to wear clothing. The clothes do not wear her.
No.
Like, she embodies the things that she puts on.
Exactly.
I think it's almost like that chameleon-esque part of her that's able to blend. It kind of reminds me of that old Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoon, The Flight of the Valkyries, when the hat truck flies open and the hats keep landing on Bugs and on Elmer Fudd, and they inhabit the characters. So it's like everything that she puts on, she's like, okay, I'm wearing this frilly dress today. I'm going to be a bit more feminine.
Exactly.
I'm wearing a suit, so I'm going to be a bit more masculine. It's like she attributes personality types to the clothing that she wears, and it's all tailored within an inch of its life. I would do anything to see some of those garments on display so we could see the richness of the details, because you can tell in some of the camera shots that they're like, wait, that wasn't a lazy costumer. Like, every seam and every stitch is done perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, they really spend a lot of time and money.
Like when they're on the
wardrobe.
swing and you see their shoes. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah, and then just clothes in general are not just in visually, right, are a thing within the show. Like, we see
Carolyn is dressed to the nines every time too. Carolyn's wardrobe is perfect.
And then at one point when she's grieving, we see her shirt disheveled, right?
Right.
And Daniel even comments on it when they're walking into a meeting that her shirt is misbuttoned. We've never really seen her like that. The fact that Villanelle buys, Eve a dress instead of her, right? This perfect outfit.
Now that I'm thinking about it, when you see the men, no matter how prominent the male character is in a particular episode, like Constantine or Nico or some of the men in like the computer shop, they all look a little sloppy and disheveled.
Yep.
No one is ever as sharply dressed as our women are in the show. And I think that's amazing.
And the colors, yeah. I mean, of course, it's harder to do crazy colors with men, but
Sure.
even so, like they're not wearing pattern suits. They're not.
Yeah.
It's very muted, so
Yeah.
that they fade more into the background.
They really do in general, like when you really think about it. And then they're always wearing leather. Have you noticed that? Like the men, a leather coat or
Mhm.
something harsh.
And I feel like it's all shapeless. Like they like
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's shapeless.
Columbo overcoat, you know,
Right.
Exactly.
rumpled. Everything is just layered in there, and it's like, okay, you couldn't describe any one of their wardrobes other than saying like, oh, he was wearing a jacket, you know.
That's true. That's very true. They're wearing a shirt and trousers and a jacket, and that's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And I think I might be kind of off. You let me know what you guys think. But it just seems to me that the more she wears suits, the more powerful I think she's becoming in and of her own right, believing in herself.
I think you're onto something.
Because I don't think
rewatch that.
the longer the show has gone on, the more she's questioned, is she doing what she wants to do because they want her to do it? Is she doing because she wants to do it? And the more
Right.
she decides that she does not want to do it, the more powerful she becomes in and of herself. So I think, just personally, I think that's why we see her now in more suits rather than in more dresses, because she's not going to the party being their shining beacon trying to get somebody's attention so she can draw them into a room and kill them. Even when she was the
Yeah.
stylist with the dark hair, she was beautiful, but she wasn't demure.
Right. Overly feminized, but also later in the second and third season, you know, she's bucking for a promotion. She's trying to dress the position that she wants, kind of a thing too, because
I feel like Constantine.
we're doing less chameleon hit person and more bureaucrat. So I think there's also a change in that way too.
Well, it's like she wants to be in charge of her own life instead of being used as a tool.
Exactly.
Right.
And for me, the moment in which it really resonated was when she goes into the perfume shop and gives the guy money and says, "I want to smell powerful."
Exactly.
Right. Like a gladiator or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
gladiator.
Something.
And something like that. And then she literally, like 2 or 3 different times is like, "Smell me."
What do you smell? Yes.
Yeah.
And Eve does it at one point, right? Like she smells her, and then they have this moment, and these quiet moments between Eve and Villanelle are just so well written, so well acted.
Because I think they look through all the BS that's in their lives, and they're peering into each other's souls, and they recognize the predator in both of them, the protector in both of them, and the strive for independence that's within both of them.
Yeah, they
and
definitely have a mutual
see
respect.
that. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I think it kind of goes with the territory, like, you know, in their lives, it's everything is life or death. And so that kind of heightens the senses. And I think that this is the first time that either of them has taken notice of somebody so acutely. And I think that when we do get these moments, you know, these people, well, not so much Eve, but definitely Villanelle, like people are disposable. Like she gets rid of people left and center. And this is the first time, like, you know, that she has balked more than once. But so when they get together and they have these like really close moments where they don't know if they can trust each other because they've been there and they haven't been able to trust each other.
Right.
It's like this, I don't know. It's you have to know people really well to write it like that. And it's one of those moments, like when we sit back and like we're critiquing it, it's like, I want to have dinner with Phoebe Waller-Bridge and just like talk about this because
heck yeah, there's a lot in that woman's head, and I would love to explore it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
She writes lots of good stuff.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, it's a testament to the show that not only are we just talking about the plot, we're talking about all these different pieces that fit so uniquely well with a show like Killing Eve, and the way that it's made to the way that it's acted to just the things that they've done that are so revolutionary as a television series. And to finally also get to see, in my opinion, Sandra Oh, you know, in a role like this. I mean, I love her, and getting to see her to do this has been such a joy, and just to see how I think this is going to change television. I really do.
Oh, I hope it does.
I hope it does too, because this is smart.
No, I have not read anything.
So it's just amazing to me that they were able to take those personalities from the novellas, which are written by a man,
Right.
Okay.
and build on those to the characters that as we see on TV.
Well, yes. Well, now I'm going to have to go read. But the other thing about the strength of the interpersonal, like the relationships, again, are the strong thing. There's all these mysteries that have not yet been solved, and we're still here for it. Like, that's saying something.
Right.
You know, we're 3 seasons in, and we don't know who the 12 is. We don't know what happened to Kenny. We don't know the why of all the things, but they're peeling it all back layer by layer, and it's so intriguing and so well done and so beautiful to watch that it's like, okay, I'm willing to wait for it. You know,
Absolutely.
Awesome. So in our last few minutes, I wanted to talk about what our predictions are, or what are some of our theories. So if you're watching and you don't want spoilers, then now's the time to enjoy our social media and other places. But let's talk for a second and get into it. What do you guys think about the finale of series 3? We get to see this moment between Villanelle and Eve in which they are standing on a bridge, literally on a bridge, and they have this exchange, and they're almost letting go of each other. And they they turn back to back, and then they walk away, and then they both turn around and look at each other, and it ends.
right.
About all this stuff unsaid, unanswered, things we don't know what's going to happen to Constantine, who is trying to flee. We don't know what's going to happen with Carolyn. We don't know. We have no idea. There's so many unknowns. So what are your theories? What are your predictions for series 4? Let's start with Janne.
I think that Irina is going to get out by herself. I don't think she's going to wait on her father to get her out. And if he does get her out, I think she's going to turn into a mini Villanelle and be his, she's no longer going to be his muse and his reason for wanting to leave. She's going to be the reason he needs to stay.
Oh, I
can just see her personality going way out in left field. And it's I don't know if it's inherent in her to not do anything. I don't know if it's because Villanelle has dropped by so many times and said things and put bugs in her ear that she just felt like it was okay to do it. Maybe if I do this thing that Villanelle probably would have done, my father will pay more attention to me. But I think that they're going to do some big things with her character. I don't see her being stuck in juvenile detention for very long.
No, I agree with you. I like that. And for me, on that Constantine Irina, I think that the fact that she did what she did the way she did it, and her father can't help her out, is going to make them come rescue her and pull her back into it, like groom her to become, the next person. But I do think that that's going to be the thing that keeps Constantine in, because again, Constantine thinks that he knows what he wants. And it's one of those things, like if he retires, he's going to die. So we have to keep him busy, right? He has to stay in. I think that we're going to find out what happened. I hope that we're going to find out what happened with Kenny, and it's much more intriguing and bigger than this. And I would love to see the journalists take on a bigger role, because journalists in this kind of situation have the potential. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity there. But they can be such a foil, and they can be doing investigations in a different way. And so I hope to see more of that.
Yeah, I think the anger behind being raided and all of their stuff being taken, I think that's going to fuel the fire, so to speak.
To take on the role that Kenny had.
Exactly.
Kenny had. Yeah. Well, and what happened to Kenny's research? Like, he just kind of, it's still there. So what was he looking at? So, yeah.
Okay. All right, Tony, what are your predictions?
Well, I'm going to go with formula. So we saw at the end of series 1 where Eve stabbed Villanelle.
Right.
And then at the end of series 2, Villanelle shot Eve.
Right.
So at the end of series 3, the two of them face off on one another. And I think they're going to take each other off the bridge into the water and pretend that they're dead to see if that shakes people off their tail, so that they can work together to be kind of shadowy and spy on people under the premise that they're both dead. So that's kind of that's kind of a theory that I have.
So I have a question. So what do you think about this? This was my theory with 1 and 2, that the only reason why they did what they did to each other in 1 and 2 was because they were almost at the point where can't live with them, can't live without them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that again, that goes back to like, they think they know what they want. They think they know that they want to be together. They think they know that they want to end this person. But if Villanelle is no longer doing what she's doing, then Eve doesn't have a reason to be.
Exactly.
And I think that's,
except for them finding the 12.
Right. But Eve's never talked about the 12.
True.
I think that it's that she's so drawn in over her head with this. And I think that even when Villanelle goes to the journalist's office and they're all working together on something, and like it's kind of like, we need the cat and mouse to keep going. So when I catch you, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let you go, So, and that kind of is formula a little bit, but I don't know.
Well, I think the cat and mouse game is just going to change. I don't think I think the dynamics will shift. I think that Eve's rat in that race is going to be finding out that the bureaucracy at the MI5 or MI6 level is part of the 12. And that if anybody threatens Nico again, then that's going to bring her even closer. And I think Villanelle's going to see it as a way of true freedom to get them out of the way, because no one will have any control over her or pull at any of her strings if they're all taken out. So I just think that the cat and mouse game is going to shift a bit. And I have a hunch, because of the actress that plays the daughter, the one that was from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Geraldine.
Yeah.
She is such a force. Like, I think there's more to her than we
I do
know.
too.
Well, and there's the bug on the fridge. That's not resolved either.
Yeah, that was Constantine's. That was not resolved at all.
Yeah, so maybe Constantine isn't who we think he is, or maybe he's going to make a power play, or
Right.
Maybe
that's why I think things are going to shift.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, to play on the cat and mouse game, I think that we see cat and mouse in series 1. I think we start to see cat and cat at one point in series 2 when it comes to Villanelle and Eve. And I really like the idea of them kind of teaming up more so than before, because before they would team up and then it would break, right? Like the situation would break and it would break their relationship. And here you see, Eve at the end of season 1 making the decision to stab her, partially because of Villanelle's prior actions towards an outside person that they cared about. Right. And these people that Eve cares about outside of her, right, influence her behavior within the relationship with Villanelle. Yeah. And Villanelle, then in series 2, we see that she ends up, shooting Eve specifically, because she feels betrayed, because she doesn't have people outside of her necessarily that influences her, and she doesn't want those people to influence her. And she wants Eve to kind of like share in her darkness, because at one point at the end of series 3, right before they walk away from each other, she says, "I think that my monster encourages your monster."
Yeah, they feed off each other.
And they feed off of each other. And that's, and that, what a great line, right? And to describe what's happened up until this point. But also the fact that Nico, when he's in the hospital, says to Eve, like through the message thing, says to her to go away, right? Just leave me alone.
I don't like Nico.
And
I mean, I don't, because no matter what Eve does to try and make it up to him, it's never good enough.
It's never good enough.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But
I don't think that's fair to her, because when he has made mistakes, she has always taken him back.
True. Well, whatever happens with the series, when it comes back, because I know that production wasn't able to begin because of COVID, but when the series does come back, I need more dark humor scenes, like Dasha putting that baby in the trash can. I fell off the couch. I thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was like, just like those little moments. So good.
This is so true. I love the dark humor in it. I love the light humor versus dark humor. It's one of my favorite things about the show. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward as well to the next series, as I think that all of us can say. And if you haven't watched Killing Eve, hopefully our DragonCon audience will be interested in seeing the series. I believe you can watch it on Hulu right now.
That's where I saw it. Was on
Amazon
Hulu.
and Amazon Prime.
And
Yeah.
YouTube TV.
Oh yeah, and YouTube TV, you can watch it on there. But it's definitely worth a watch. You're going to fall in love with this wonderful cast, as well as just the writing and everything that we've had some time to chat about today.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining me and talking about Killing Eve. I really appreciate everybody's time. And you can find BritTrack on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search for @BritTrack. Thanks so much, DragonCon, and thank you to our wonderful panelists.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caro.
Bye, DragonCon.
Thank you.
Bye.